Hi Barbara, and you can pass this one on to Vicky as well. It's a reference to the boathouse, and I've attached it to a picture of Cliveden Reach, which I've concocted and added a picture of her ladyship as I knew her and knew her so well. The time that I remember was just about the wartime, when I would be going with Ernie down to the boathouse. One of the duties he had was to change the batteries in the electric canoe, which her ladyship loved. She used to Sunday afternoon. It was her pride and joy to take the canoe with friends, and occasionally her husband as well, onto the reach itself. She'd go up as far as the Cookham Lock, and then go all the way down to close to Bolter's Lock near the weir, where she would turn and come back. Very leisurely way of doing things. The sculling boats, skiffs, which were there for Bill and Jakey to use. Her ladyship was very keen on them getting exercise. So they were sort of directed to go sculling up and down the reach for their exercise. The birch bark canoes were brought in from the States, handcrafted birch bark canoes, and I think they were quite cumbersome and never really got used, and as you say, one dried out completely and would be leaking, I would gather. But that was it. There was also a motorboat I can remember, besides the electric canoe, which was a petrol-driven one, and during the war that didn't see any use at all. Her ladyship would go out in the electric one, but not in the petrol one. So there you are. That's the story of the boathouse. Now, Ernie Holland had a relief man who used to come in from First Platte. He owned a garage up in, or a garage up in First Platte. His name was Jack Exler, E-X-L-E-R, and you may come across his name attached in the records somewhere, but he was the relief man, and he would, when Ernie had a day off, he would come and check the pumps here at White Place Farm and pump the water up and top the water up in the clock tower reservoir. So that was Jack Exler, and you may find somewhere in the records his name, and that's what he did. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up, and we will carry on with a little bit more. Oh, by the way, there is one thing I forgot. With her ladyship, the first time I met her, I was playing with my new schoolmates who had all started school together And Jeffrey Emmett was Percy Emmett's son, and they lived in the house at the bottom next to the main herdsman's house. And then there was Gordon Steele with an E at the end, and Gordon was the son of the dairyman who looked after the bottling and processing of the milk from the tanks and so forth when they went into three-timer milking. But so Gordon and Jeffrey and I were playing in the barn one day, and suddenly this lady walked in, and the boys stopped, kibitzing around and sort of froze. And she comes up and she says, "Hello, Jeffrey? Gordon? Well, aren't you going to introduce me to your friend?" And Jeff pointed at me and said, "He's Jim Hatch." And she looked at me. "Hatch? Are you the Hatch that lives at Widbrook Cottage?" And I sort of nodded my head, I think. And she says, "I know your grandmother, young man. I hope you don't get into any trouble around here, as I'll have to talk to her." And with that, she walked out of the barn and met up with George Hughes, who was the herdsman at the farm. And she started to talk to him. And we carried on out of the barn. We went over to Jeffrey's house and played in the garden there. So there you are. That's the story that I had. That was my first encounter with her ladyship. Mind you, there were others. You may have on your records, by the way, another person in this list. Commander Fern, Alec Fern. He was in the Navy during the war with the Honourable Bill, now of course Lord Bill. And when Edward Chaplin came down with lung cancer, he brought Alec Fern over to act as farm manager, and got to know Alec Fern very, very well. And at that time I was quite a rifle shot, because I used to go to the Bisley ranges to shoot. And he brought out his .22 and said, would I like to keep the rabbits down? And so it was a German .22, a Walther, I remember, telescope sight and everything else. And I used to sit in trees above the rabbit warren, shooting down into the ground, but at the same time getting rabbits. Oh, the fun we had. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll keep in touch. And by the way, Barbara, this the month of March will see a big change for me. Yes, I will reach the age of 90, so there you go. So with that, I'll say cheers for now. Bye-bye.